Today we're working on this Chevy 3500 church bus. Got to replace the fuel pump in it. If you go in under the driver's door, with the 15 millimeter, of course. Now you know that because, hey, you watched this video. Right underneath the driver's seat, pretty much under the driver's seat, is the fuel filter. And then all the fuel lines go back to above the tank. The gas tank has two straps. It has a strap here and a strap in the back. It's a long tank too. You don't want to do this if you just put gas in the bus. So the bus has got about a quarter tank in it. Hopefully that'll benefit us. We want to take off these two 15 millimeter bolts that are on the straps. Once you get those off, the other one's right here. Once you get those off, you can lower the tank and get to the top of it. So I'll be back, check back with you here when I get the tank dropped. Alright, after you get the gas tank off, the hardest thing to get the tank off is you got to take the clamp off of the fill tube, which obviously you got to reach from the other side. So you got to bring your hand up over here. This clamp happened to be fastened down here. It's an 8 millimeter. It could be different because of somebody else has already replaced it. But I'm going to put it on like this when I put it back on. But that's going to be the hardest thing, is putting this tube, fill tube, back on the tank when I put it all back under the car, under the van. Up here you'll notice, oh, all I did was just rotate the gas tank out on the driver's side. I left the vent tube plugged in because there's enough that it won't hurt it. So the vent tube, I didn't even unplug that. I unplugged the fuel line, the fuel lines. This is the pressure line, and this is the, I guess it's the return pressure to the tank. I did unplug this. That's just, you pull this little tab on the side. It didn't have the safety in it, so maybe this one's already been done. Anyway, to unscrew this, you take this and you're going to tap this thing clockwise. There are 4 tabs here that come through the fuel pump assembly. We're going to lift that out of there. You got to take this, get it out of the way. You got to tap this way so that this rotates. Yeah, I don't think it's going to do it without tapping it. That's what we're going to do. So I put my screwdriver right here on this tab, and just right here on this tab, there's 4 of them around here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I pulled this out of the way and then just lightly tapped it. So now the whole assembly will come out. Yay. Alright, looks like there's something hanging up. That's the float. That's the that right there is what tells you how much gas is in the tank. So the new pump comes with a different connector, so I've got to change the wires. I've got to put, but it also came with the wire connector, so I've got to put all these wire connectors, connect them to the right wires under the van. It did come with the correct fuel gasket, but in order to find the right one, you've got to take your old one in. And just so happens that this one cross-referenced to an FG0159, but the original one was much different than that. I'll post it in the next picture here and then carry on with putting the tank in. On this one you have to clip the fuel level checker onto the sensor. My sensor was actually, one of these things was all chewed up, so it almost was to the point where it wasn't going to work. So hey, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So on the wiring, it's got multiple options. You've got to figure out which one, because you got to change the plug on the top. They don't have the square plug, they have a rectangular plug. So here's all the different options. And then there's even more options. So we have the third option. That's what we're gonna, and it comes with the connectors. So that's what we're gonna do. So we have large black, point to it, small black, purple, and then gray. So the small black and the small purple are the level sensor, the fuel level sensor. The other ones are your fuel pump. The larger ones are your fuel pump. And they're the same color. They're gray and black, but they're the larger ones. And you're gonna put the blue connector on that because it's for a larger wire. All right, so on this van, we're reconnecting the downspout. And we found that if you put the bolts in place and jack up the gas tank, we had to have 2 people to do that and a jack, that you can pretty much get the downspout going. I'll never be able to see it from over here. Too much stuff in the way. All right, I almost drove all the way back to the store. These little clips right here, they weren't in the fuel lines, and I was kind of wondering what in the world happened to them. Thought maybe they fell out of the fuel lines, but they didn't. They never came off the fuel pump. You can buy new ones of these at the store, or you can just, I mean, if these have both ears on them, I'd just reuse them. This is the old fuel pump on the 3500 Chevy Express van, 1 ton. And you'll notice right here, the sensor was getting ready to fail because one of these ears is, the top one is worn off. So it may have still been working, but as soon as that wears down, that's what makes these fuel gauge sensors not work. You notice one of them's longer than the other. They're supposed to be the same length. They're supposed to be spring loaded to touch this resistor band right here to let the fuel gauge know, you know, where the lever arm is, whether it's full of gas, or empty. So that's actually how that works. So I've actually taken these and taken them apart, soldered something to that back one that's worn down, and actually extended the life of these. But hey, it's a lot of work, but it's $320 for this pump, the whole assembly.